There's a reason that you become almost a mystical enigma when you actually start following Jesus and you actually start your full spiritual journey completely on the right path. And you are in the middle way, the narrow path, you could say. The Buddhist way to say it is the middle way. The Christian way to say it is the narrow path. In all honesty, I follow Christ personally, and I do not consider myself Christian because I think, as Nietzsche said, there was only one true Christian, and he died on the cross. And I think that's actually very true. And it's not necessarily because I hate Christianity or anything like that. Or I don't fit in with Christianity. It's more like Christ, I know, wants me to be my own person through my own spiritual endeavors. And I'm also given certain kind of spiritual gifts and discernments that other people may not be, and vice versa. You might be somebody that has been given certain things that now you are becoming more and more evolved in a way that you're able to actually discern those things within yourself, and you're actually able to know what you have to bring to the table. Now, with that being said, the whole message for today is going to be how to develop psychic abilities, clairvoyance, intuition, active imagination, astral projection, all of those kinds of things. And I want to first go through a verse or two in the Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 12, 8 through 10. And it says, "For to one is given the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing, to another the work of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning spirits, to another divers kinds of tongues, to another interpretation of tongues. But all of these worketh that one and the self same Spirit, dividing to every man severally as he will." That was actually, that last little bit was 12:10 of 1 Corinthians. And the reason I think it is important to open with that before we go through this discussion is because this is a biblically based channel. However, it is not a religious channel. So what I mean by that is I'm not someone that only takes the Bible to be the only source of truth. I'm not someone that takes only the Quran to be the only source of truth. I'm not someone that takes the Bhagavad Gita to be the only source of truth. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Never really know if I'm pronouncing that right. But anyway, I am not someone that takes the Tao Te Ching to be the only source of truth. I'm not someone that takes any kind of occult to be the only source of truth. However, in my findings, I found the Bible to be, and in all my research, I found the Bible to be the most based foundation for which all of truth has been able to expand on itself. And the reason for that is because the Bible was written by dozens of different kinds of people, and there's dozens and dozens of different books in the Bible. It's basically a library within a book itself, but it's a library that is a living document, and it is a library that has life to it as you read it in a certain way. I'm not saying that all of these other books don't. I'm just saying that the Bible for me stood out to be the most foundational and most understanding of everything altogether. So now that I've got the stage set, I also want to talk about meditation in this video as well, because what meditation really is and how it correlates to this, because a lot of times people think meditation, and I've heard pastors talk about this. It's like, well, the Eastern version of meditation is emptying your mind, and then the Bible kind of meditation is filling your mind. I want to do both with you. we're going to completely reshape how we think about meditation. We're going to completely reshape how we think about what it means to be active spiritually. What you do when you meditate, if you're doing it properly, you're not just looking at your thoughts. A lot of people don't realize that thoughts, like you are not only your thoughts. Now, your thoughts are far more powerful than you give themselves credit for. However, you are not your thoughts, but you can only trust your experience. Now, what do I mean by that? If you were to sit here right now, as you're listening to this video, and you're sitting down, and you're just feeling the temperature of the room, you're feeling the sensation of gravity pulling you down on the ground. Now, obviously, like I can lift my legs, I can move my arms, I can actually speak right now, but my whole being is involved in what I'm doing in this moment. I can feel myself holding the microphone. I can feel myself on the ground. I can feel the carpet beneath me. I can feel the heater from the background wave past just ever so slightly. I can feel the air of the heat just moving this way, because that's where the heater is, back there. But I can just be in this moment entirely. And you can practice this in social situations as well. You can be talking to people, and suddenly you can just be, to fully cement yourself in the present moment. You can feel yourself as you're talking to this person. You can listen to the sound of the wind as they talk. You can listen to the tone of their voice a little bit more clearer. You can listen to and feel the sensation and energy that you're getting from this person. What kind of energy do you feel? Where do you feel it? Do you feel it at all? Is there anywhere in your body that while you're speaking to this person, you seem to have this kind of radiation, or do you kind of feel sunken back? Be more mindful of that. And it's not about being in your body, but it's about experiencing the fullness of the body. Okay? So meditation essentially is this. You are noticing what it's like to be you. But as you're meditating, as you are sitting down, as you are on this, even right now, you can do this. You can expand your consciousness. Think about your consciousness as a point of gravity in which ever tries to expand itself around that center of gravity. So think of yourself, I'm not saying you are this, but I'm saying think of yourself as a star, right? What does the star do when there are planets around? Well, the star's center of gravity is, here's a good way to think about it. When you're on a trampoline, right? Let's say you're in the middle of the trampoline, and this is actually something my dad taught me, and which was probably the coolest thing he ever actually did teach me, to be honest. I was on the trampoline, and he said, this is how gravity works. And he placed a basketball, like a soccer ball, and then like a baseball or something. And he said, now imagine yourself to be the sun, and just start spinning. And what happens to the sports balls? What happens? Well, they start to move with me. And that's exactly how gravity works, right? It's the same kind of concept with the law of attraction, with meditation. Like what you are doing when you're actually meditating, the more you cement yourself into this being that you are, this living organism that you are right here, right now, the more that you do this, the greater your presence will be, and the more present you will actually activate within yourself. Like you'll activate a certain kind of presence. And if you've ever noticed, narcissists have a kind of presence to them. You can feel their presence for sure, but it's not necessarily a good feeling or a good presence. You actually feel kind of not so great when but you still feel pulled into them to some degree, right? Well, that's kind of the black hole effect. So you want to be more like a star rather than a black hole. You want to be shining the light and making sure all the people around you are being lit up by this elevated energy. I mean, those that actually want to elevate with you. The other people that don't want to elevate can go screw themselves for all I care. But here on this channel, that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to empower you to prosper, and we want to empower you to prosper in the best way possible. So now we've got understanding what meditation is and what it can do, okay? Well, what exactly is astral projection? What exactly is active imagination? Why is it that these things seem so mystical? It's because we don't actually understand the full potential of our consciousness as human beings. Think about your consciousness as a human being specifically. Realize that you are not the body. You are not this body. Like when you dream, where do you go? Everybody's dreamt at one point, I'm sure. Like, I don't know anybody that hasn't ever had a dream. So when you dream, where do you go? It's kind of a weird question, right? So where do you go? Like where do you go when you dream? Well, in a way, the dream world, you could say, is actually just the spiritual world. And the spiritual world, I genuinely believe dreams are more real than this. Sometimes you could actually not even sometimes. I think it's all the time. And I think we're actually dreaming all the time as well. We're just not fully in the dream state, so to speak, all the time. And Carl Jung actually thought this as well. He thought that we were dreaming all the time. And what he meant by that is that consciousness itself is a dream to some degree. Because where do you go when you die? Where do you go? Well, nobody really knows, right? Because otherwise death wouldn't be this ultimate mystery. But astral projection and active imagination is a place in which your soul and your body align. But it's not always physical. It's not always a physical alignment. It's a spiritual alignment. And so you actually have a spiritual alignment in the spiritual world by using your body as if it were a satellite. Think about it like that. Think of your body as a satellite. And if you can get into a certain kind of state of mind, psychologically speaking, we call this a hypnagogic state, which is a state in between awakeness and sleepfulness. You can 110% get into this state of mind. This is where I genuinely believe Paul, the Apostle Paul, in the book of Revelations, where he talks about all of his revelations, and he talks about the dragon and the lake of fire and all of that stuff. What I think he was doing was actually tapping into that active imagination state. And I think we can all do this to one degree or another. It's a matter of skill. It's a matter of being present within yourself. Astral projection, active imagination, shamanic journeying. Shamanic journeying, you can call it as well. The shamans, who are the ancient medicine men of these ancient tribes, right? They actually took psychedelic substances and then journeyed into what they would call the upper world or the lower world. You can think about the upper world as more of a heavenly place, and the lower world to be as more of a demonic or hell-like or hellish place. This is where the demons were. Up here in the upper world was where like the good spirits were. But in order to get to the good spirits, you had to actually actively seek them out, because the good spirits are not going to just go to you, because they mind their own business. They mind their own business. They're not going to bother you unless you want to actually talk to these kinds of spirits per se. So I hope I'm not losing anybody or going over anybody's heads too much here. But astral projection and active imagination, shamanic journeying, they're all the same thing. And the best way to tap into that is to do that kind of meditation that I just described earlier. And you'll get to a place eventually where you can get so calm and relaxed that the visions will just naturally occur to you. Now that sounds kind of weird, right? That sounds kind of like that's not much to go off of in some respect. But in other ways, it's actually the only thing that you need. Okay. Now, as far as clairvoyance and developing psychic abilities, this is where the Bible verse that I read at the beginning comes into play. So there's a few different kind of distinct characteristics. There's the word of wisdom, the word of knowledge, gifts of healing, working of miracles, prophecy, discerning of spirits, different kind of tongues, and then the interpretation of tongues. So these are all different ways that you can develop certain kinds of psychic abilities. Psychic ability just means this: that you are psychologically in touch and inclined with your ability to see and to experience yourself in totality. That is the basic, you can think about that as the basic form of psychic intuition, psychic ability. Okay? We're going really deep here into the spiritual world. Now, everything is spiritual, right? Everything that we see around us is actually spiritual. But you can, by astral projecting, by active imagination, whatever you want to call it, right? I personally like active imagination because it's more scientific, and I'm at heart a philosopher that thrives on logic. And I don't like the term astral projection because it's been tainted with so many different kinds of new age stuff that I don't necessarily like. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But the active imagination part is where you're going to be able to journey into the spiritual world. And you'll find that the more you're able to journey into the spiritual world in that state of mind, that hypnagogic state, the more your physical life is going to shift in a drastic way. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, think about this: the satellite that you are, as you develop the skill of active imagination, the satellite naturally that you are, right? The satellite naturally upgrades itself. And so you're going to be more in tune with things around you and everything is like that. Now, this is where clairvoyance comes into play. Clairvoyance, a lot of the times I think people misunderstand a lot of the psychic world and just a lot of the, like, I don't even like the term psychic. A lot of times people think psychic like, oh, medium, or like someone that talks to ghosts or something like that. It's not exactly what it is. And I don't think ghosts are real. I think ghosts are actually spirits. And I think spirits do linger in the world. I don't think that we can always see them, of course, because we don't see in that kind of way. But we can feel them. Like, haven't you ever gone into a room or like a hotel room or something, and you just feel like something has been here, like something off was here. Or you can feel like, wow, this place just feels really open. There's something transparent. There's something, I don't know why this word is coming to mind. Loquacious. I don't even know what loquacious means exactly, but at this moment, but there's something loquacious about this environment here. That is kind of your intuition. That is your feeling of something deeper within you and in the spirit. Clairvoyance is essentially this. It is the ability to feel what other people are feeling by projecting your consciousness without ill intent onto the other. How do you project your consciousness onto the other person? You have to completely focus, but you're not trying to take energy when you focus on this. You're not trying to take their energy. You're just trying to observe the energy, just trying to be with the energy. You're trying to be in the relationship with that consciousness or with that other person. You can do this with animals as well. In fact, there are even, like, for example, when people first found out how to make ayahuasca, and like they said that the plants told them so. Like, what kind of explanation is that, right? Well, the plants told us how to make this psychedelic substance. What? Well, no. That I think what they're doing is they're projecting their consciousness onto the living thing. Now, how scientific can we make this, and how practical can we make this? That's up for debate, because people don't take this kind of scientific stuff seriously. They don't take it seriously, and it's hard to talk about this kind of stuff in a way that doesn't damage your credibility to some degree. And this is one of the reasons why I've been so hesitant to talk about this kind of topic, because I want to make sure I get my ducks in a row, and I want to make sure that I do not skip a beat in this video. And I want to make sure that I'm also coming off as clear, concise, and as pragmatic as possible, while also giving you the full information. So, with all that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful, and peace be with you. Till next time.